is my favourite story, I think, in showbiz this year. The Justin Baldoni war with Blake Lively, which seems to me, initially I felt quite sorry for Blake Lively, then I've been reading all the messages between them all, and which he's been putting out, obviously, and it just seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade nasty.
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been sexually harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
Piers Morgan has just dropped a bombshell that has sent shockwaves through Hollywood, revealing a side of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds few could have imagined. His latest expose dives deep into text messages, insider accounts, and damning evidence that threatens to shatter the couple's meticulously curated public image. For years, Blake and Ryan have presented themselves as the ultimate power couple. Their Instagram jokes, red carpet appearances, and perfectly timed quips painting a picture of a flawless, relatable celebrity marriage that millions admire and envy. But according to multiple insiders, the reality behind closed doors is far from the effortless charm they project. From their controversial treatment of Justin Baldoni to the strategic use of their children for PR purposes, nothing is off-limits in this shocking reveal. Sources close to the couple describe an operation running with military precision, where spontaneity is practically non-existent and every public moment is calculated for maximum effect. Former assistants explained that working for Blake and Ryan is akin to living inside a PR machine, where every post, every social media interaction, and even their playful trolling of each other online is meticulously planned, with some moments reportedly scripted by hired comedy writers. Nothing goes online without approval from both of them. One former employee revealed anonymously under the constraints of a strict NDA, adding that some posts are workshopped for days before publication. These NDAs are said to be legendary in Hollywood, with household staff reportedly signing documents so restrictive that they rival presidential security clearances. Even trivial details, like the brand of cereal they eat, cannot be mentioned without risk of legal consequences. Their control over their public image extends beyond social media, encompassing live appearances, interviews, and even event interactions, with publicists noting that venues and press outlets are often provided with detailed binders of approved questions, ensuring anything off-script is immediately shut down. Industry professionals who have collaborated with the couple describe an obsession with image management that surpasses anything seen in decades of filmmaking. One cinematographer noted that Ryan would review every frame in which he appeared, a level of scrutiny that stunned even seasoned Hollywood veterans. Piers Morgan's report reveals a wide gap between their public persona and private behavior, with insiders claiming the extent of their control over perception is unprecedented, bordering on extreme. But the most explosive claims revolve around text messages allegedly obtained by Morgan, which suggests that Blake Lively not only micromanages her own image, but dictates precisely how media outlets must portray both her and Ryan, going so far as to specify adjectives and threatening to revoke access to any publication that deviates from her approved language. For those who have followed the couple's career, the revelation that so much of what seems charming, witty, and spontaneous is orchestrated may come as a shock, highlighting a carefully constructed facade maintained through relentless oversight. Beyond the viral social media posts and public appearances, these insiders describe a systematic approach to perception management, from the timing of jokes to the exact wording allowed in interviews, all designed to protect and enhance the image of Hollywood's golden couple. While fans may continue to admire the humor and relatability Blake and Ryan portray, Piers Morgan's investigation paints a different picture, one where every laugh, every smile, and every interaction is calculated, leaving the impression of perfection carefully assembled behind the scenes. As Hollywood processes these revelations, questions arise about authenticity, celebrity culture, and the lengths to which stars go to maintain their public image. The once-beloved dynamic duo may now face scrutiny that challenges the very foundation of their public persona, forcing both fans and industry insiders to reconsider the story they have been sold for years. In sum, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, long celebrated as the relatable, fun, and effortlessly charming power couple, may have achieved that image not through spontaneous charisma but through relentless control, meticulous planning, and a degree of oversight few could have imagined, leaving Piers Morgan's latest expose to potentially redefine how Hollywood and the public sees one of its most iconic couples.
How did Blake and Ryan really meet, right? They met on Green Lantern, but during that phase of Green Lantern, which was, I guess, back in 2009, was when they were shooting this, or 2010, filming was March to August 2010, Ryan was married to Scarlett Johansson. Scarlett Johansson, people forget about this, including Gwyneth Paltrow when she interviewed her. We'll get to that in a second. But people forget, yeah, these two were married, right? And so during that period of 2010, 2011, he was with Scarlett Johansson, and Blake was in a long-term relationship with Gossip Girl, Penn Badgley, right, Kim?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now that we know from you, right? Yeah, they were together for a while, and it just kind of seems like that ended. But the big question is, was there essentially cheating? And it's kind of hard to be able to tell. So there's two different narratives, but specifically what Ryan and Blake's narrative is, they both were not in relationships. When they did get together, it was after the filming of Green Lantern, and everything was good. But I think what made everything more complicated was there was a rumor due to a tweet that was sent out by a reporter. So that's kind of the big...
Those relationship-defining text messages are reportedly just the tip of the iceberg in what Piers Morgan is calling a Hollywood bombshell. The love story fans have swooned over for years. The magical meet-cute of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds on the Green Lantern set, followed by a friendship that supposedly blossomed into romance only after Ryan's divorce from Scarlett Johansson, may be nothing more than a meticulously crafted fairy tale. The version the public has seen countless times is flawless. Two actors working together, forming a friendship, and only pursuing romance once Ryan was officially single, a story that launched thousands of Instagram posts and cemented their image as Hollywood's most authentic power couple. But Morgan's investigation claims this timeline doesn't align with reality, citing multiple witnesses from the Green Lantern production who approached him with very different accounts. A camera operator who worked closely with both stars described unmistakable chemistry and private moments in corners of the set that went far beyond professional camaraderie, noting the pair would often vanish together between takes, returning with a glow that seemed impossible to fake. Another crew member was even more direct, telling Morgan that everyone on set knew what was happening, with Ryan sometimes taking calls from Scarlett only minutes before laughing alongside Blake in her trailer, completely contradicting the official narrative. Perhaps most damning are the alleged text messages Morgan claims to have obtained, including one from July 2010, months before Ryan and Scarlett announced their separation, where Blake allegedly wrote to a friend, expressing obsessive feelings and caution, saying she couldn't stop thinking about him and warning, "We have to be so careful." Damage control around this story appears to have been extraordinary. A former publicist told Morgan that certain Green Lantern photos were systematically removed from circulation using legal threats and financial incentives, with a particular set of images from a wrap party reportedly disappearing entirely, images that could have dismantled their public storyline. Insiders assert that the Friends' first narrative was carefully orchestrated by their publicity teams, with a veteran Hollywood manager explaining that a romance beginning after a divorce would resonate far better with fans than an affair narrative, and that the team executed this PR strategy flawlessly. Perhaps the most explosive revelation comes from an assistant director on Green Lantern, who alleges catching Blake and Ryan in a compromising position in his trailer a full 3 months before Ryan's marriage to Scarlett officially ended, describing it as undeniably intimate, with the pair jumping apart like teenagers caught in the act. Even the timeline of their first official date is under scrutiny. While the couple claims their romance began with a double date in early 2011, Morgan obtained receipt evidence from a New York restaurant showing Blake and Ryan dining intimately in October 2010, 2 months before Ryan's separation announcement. Taken together, these accounts paint a picture that sharply contrasts with the fairy tale romance fans have been sold for years, suggesting that the friendship-turn-love narrative may have been carefully constructed for public consumption. From private messages to hidden photos and witness testimonies, Morgan's findings imply that the relationship the world has adored might have been strategically managed from the start, with timelines, public appearances, and even fan-facing anecdotes all orchestrated to create the illusion of Hollywood's perfect power couple. The story that captivated millions may now need to be reconsidered in light of these explosive claims, as insiders, documents, and eyewitness accounts collectively challenge the widely accepted narrative, casting doubt on the authenticity of one of the most celebrated celebrity romances of the decade.
Has understood the produced documents, the text messages that were in her original complaint and are in this one. She has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained. That's how she understood it. They were lawfully obtained, maintained, and produced by Jones Work. So she's pointing it over to the Jones Work. If these weren't correct, it's Jones Work's fault, is what she's trying to say. Miss Lively included all excerpts of communication as produced, which on information and belief were produced in the data extractor program's Cellbrite default font and format, including, for example, the absence of text emojis in that production format. Images such as emojis, when available in a preserved screenshot, for example, were attached as produced. So the way I take this is, well, if those texts weren't real or they were edited, it wasn't our fault. They were Jones Work. But girl, they are your fault. That was the whole point of this, why they're suing you, why they've gotten so aggressive. What you're calling retaliation is them defending themselves against your out of context, picked and choose text messages that may have been unlawfully gotten. That's a huge point that she's sort of acknowledging without admitting. Well, if it's wrong, it's not my fault, but I'm going to continue to use them. But I removed a couple that maybe, yes, were maybe not used in full context. So I found that incredibly telling. Hidden in a little footnote, her protection that, well, you know, I was told they were lawfully obtained. Yikes. Big.
Behind Blake and Ryan Reynolds' strict "no photos of our kids" policy lies one of the most calculated PR strategies Hollywood has ever seen. While they publicly present themselves as fiercely protective parents, Piers Morgan's investigation suggests a far more strategic motive. Their children have become tools for controlling public perception whenever controversy threatens their meticulously crafted image. The pattern is clear. When Blake's Betty Buzz beverage line faced criticism for premium pricing in 2022, within 48 hours she appeared on Live with Kelly and Ryan sharing a story about her daughter James mistaking sparkling water for spicy water, which quickly went viral and buried the pricing backlash under a flood of social media admiration. Media analyst Sophia Winters, interviewed for Morgan's report, calls this strategic parental deflection, refusing to show their children's faces while simultaneously using anecdotes about them to redirect attention whenever needed. In one telling incident from 2020, when Ryan faced criticism for filming his Netflix movie Red Notice in Italy during pandemic restrictions, he shared a heartwarming, seemingly spontaneous story about his child mispronouncing common words, dominating headlines for days and eclipsing the controversy. A former member of the couple's PR team confirmed the existence of a document containing pre-approved child-related anecdotes, categorized by type: cute misunderstandings, funny moments, or heartwarming gestures, all ready to deploy as distraction tactics. The strategy was similarly evident during Ryan's aviation gin pricing controversy in 2021, when Blake posted about their daughter's handmade birthday card mere hours after criticism arose, effectively shifting public attention overnight. Celebrity publicist Maria Donovan describes it as manipulation disguised as parenting. The couple claims to protect their children's privacy while weaponizing stories about them for image control, often undetected by the public, who perceive only wholesome parenting moments. Morgan's investigation documented 7 specific instances in which negative press was immediately followed by child-related content, with PR analytics showing Google searches for the controversy dropping by an average of 74% within 24 hours of the child's story breaking. This approach reveals a contradiction at the heart of their public stance, adamantly refusing to show their children's faces while exploiting stories about them to maintain image and influence media narratives. Social media analyst Jeremy Park notes that the couple's "no faces" policy cleverly positions them as morally conscientious parents while preserving a mechanism to strategically manipulate public perception. Even former household staff confirm the meticulous nature of this system. A former nanny reported that Blake and Ryan would catalog their children's cute moments, commenting, that's a good one to save for later. Not merely cherishing parenthood, but systematically building a content reserve for potential PR deployment. Every anecdote, every viral story, and every carefully timed post illustrates a pattern of deliberate, premeditated narrative control, where the appearance of warmth and protection cleverly masks a broader strategy of influence, demonstrating that behind the sweetness of parenthood lies one of the most sophisticated image management operations Hollywood has ever seen.
Here's what Justin provides, the full context of the conversation. They admitted all the setup before about all the rumors being spread, yada, yada, how hard it's been to sort of try to combat the false rumors, and then how lucky he is. Here are the two quotes. Doesn't matter if it's not true. I know. I don't think they get that. They think the truth wins. No, it doesn't. Laughing face. And I'm like, we are dealing with a psychopath who literally called you a predator. Let's all be happy with difficult. Now, context doesn't support Blake Lively. They call her a psychopath. They acknowledge that Justin and team want the truth to prevail. But they, as the PR people, are saying the truth doesn't prevail online. It's all about whatever rumors Blake's team's spreading. So here is proof Blake's team's out there spreading. And then he goes and shows that Stephanie Jones and the team over on Blake's side, Blake's publicist, etc., were the ones who were actually leaking Justin's information. Now, personally, I do believe at some point, I'm sure some of Justin's PR team were defending themselves and perhaps got in that fight. Even TMZ's come out and said, guys, you both did it. But the reality is they both did it. And this idea that Justin oversaw all of it, he was involved with our reporting and other reportings, or Kirsty Flaw's junket interview coming out of it, all of that to me is nonsense. No crisis PR firm is that good. Sorry.
While Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds were busy collecting parenting anecdotes for their PR arsenal, a darker power struggle was reportedly unfolding behind the scenes of Blake's most anticipated film project. The set of It Ends With Us became ground zero for what insiders describe as one of Hollywood's most volatile creative battles in recent memory. What began as a dream collaboration between Blake and director Justin Baldoni quickly deteriorated into chaos. Sources close to production told Piers Morgan that Blake wasn't satisfied with simply starring in the film. She allegedly sought control over nearly every creative decision, despite having no official producing or directing authority. She'd walk onto set with pages of notes about scenes that were already approved, a production assistant revealed, explaining that Blake would make not just suggestions about her own performance, but outright demands concerning camera angles, lighting, and even how fellow actors should deliver their lines. The breaking point reportedly came during the filming of a major emotional sequence when Justin refused to compromise his original vision. Blake, furious, stormed off set and made a phone call. Minutes later, studio executives began calling Justin, questioning his creative decisions. It was like she created her own chain of command, said a veteran camera operator, describing how the director's authority was undermined at every turn. Morgan's team obtained leaked emails that appeared to confirm this pattern of interference. In one alleged exchange, Blake wrote to a producer, "I know what audiences want to see better than he does. Either these changes happen, or we're going to have serious problems moving forward." When Justin continued resisting, sources say Blake escalated her campaign by isolating him socially and professionally, skipping production meetings if he attended and organizing secret ones with department heads in her trailer immediately afterward. A production coordinator claimed she even held off-the-record sessions with the cinematographer and editor to redirect key creative choices without Justin's knowledge. The tension reached such heights that filming had to pause twice, forcing the studio to intervene. During one of these halts, Blake was allegedly overheard saying, "He doesn't understand that I'm the reason this movie will succeed or fail, not him." By the time production wrapped, the relationship was irreparable. Blake reportedly refused joint promotional appearances, pulling out of interviews at the last minute whenever Justin was scheduled. A publicity coordinator on the film's marketing campaign confirmed that her team constantly had to rearrange press schedules to avoid overlap. Industry analysts later observed that such behavior represents a dramatic breach of professional norms. Even the biggest stars defer to the director on set, noted film expert David Mitchell, adding that Blake's conduct suggested she believed her celebrity status entitled her to override traditional creative authority. But the power struggle didn't end there. According to Morgan's report, while Blake fought visible battles on set, Ryan Reynolds was allegedly waging a quieter, more insidious campaign against Justin Baldoni behind the scenes, one that extended beyond the film itself. 3 studio executives told Morgan that Ryan made a series of calculated phone calls, ostensibly checking in about production timelines before subtly questioning Justin's leadership and creative judgment. It felt like he was fishing for problems that didn't exist, one executive explained. What made the situation particularly alarming was that Ryan had no official involvement in the project, yet his influence seemed to ripple through studio corridors. Morgan's team even heard from Justin's former writing partner, who revealed that a separate Paramount project they were developing suddenly lost funding without explanation, despite having been fast-tracked just weeks earlier. "We were told the climate had changed regarding Justin," the source said. "Then I learned Ryan had been at Paramount the previous week for an unrelated meeting." The implication was chilling. Ryan's behind-the-scenes influence might have directly affected Justin's career trajectory. The most damning evidence reportedly came in the form of text messages Morgan claims to have obtained, including one from April 2023 in which Ryan allegedly wrote to Blake, spoke to Marcus at the studio. "He'll be watching the dailies more closely now. This Justin problem will sort itself out." Another message allegedly followed, reading, "Don't worry about the reshoots. They'll see it our way soon." Taken together, these accounts suggest a coordinated effort by Hollywood's most image-conscious couple to exert control far beyond their official roles, an effort that, if true, reveals not just ambition but a willingness to manipulate the system itself. The interference reportedly didn't stop at the It Ends With Us set. According to Piers Morgan's investigation, it extended deep into Justin Baldoni's professional network. A veteran casting director told Morgan that they received a cryptic call asking if they planned to work with Justin on an upcoming project, with the caller never identifying themselves as connected to Ryan Reynolds, but making the implication clear. Collaborating with Baldoni might complicate relationships with certain A-listers. Similar stories surfaced across Hollywood, with multiple producers describing how enthusiasm for working with Justin suddenly evaporated, replaced by scheduling conflicts and polite brush-offs, an unspoken signal that his name had become quietly radioactive. "It was like invisible walls started going up around him," said one producer who had previously worked with Justin on several projects. Perhaps most striking was how Blake and Ryan allegedly leveraged their social clout to reinforce this isolation. A talent manager revealed that the couple's exclusive dinner parties, long considered mini industry summits, became a strategic networking weapon. Once tensions from It Ends With Us surfaced, Justin's invitations vanished, and word spread quickly through Hollywood's elite circles. Staying in the Reynolds' good graces meant keeping distance from Baldoni. One screenwriter who attended one of these gatherings recalled Ryan making a pointed joke about difficult directors that everyone recognized as a jab at Justin, creating an uncomfortable silence no one dared break. "That's how influence works in this town," the writer said. As entertainment lawyer Melissa Rosen noted, "It's one thing to have creative disagreements, but another to systematically undermine someone's career across multiple studios." If these allegations hold true, it represents a troubling abuse of power and a dangerous precedent in Hollywood's hierarchy.
I want to go through 2 sections where she attempts to address the taking over of the film, which is very telling. None of the requested protections were tied anyways to Miss Lively's creative input in the film and were made months before discussions regarding the cut of the film. So she's saying at this point, when she was making her demands, her list of 17, which then later ballooned into something else, but they only signed off on 17, at that time and moment, with the completion of the film uncertain, Miss Lively did not request, nor did she receive, any creative rights, editing rights, credits, or any other role on the film beyond her roles as an actress and executive producer. Everything she requested laid out in the document was designed to ensure the safety and well-being of the cast and crew. In other words, at the precise moment in time when Miss Lively had maximum leverage prior to resuming production, she did not use that leverage to obtain anything other than protections for herself and others to ensure a safe work environment for all. The notion that she did all this as some sort of Byzantine plot to take control of the movie at some future point, which she did not do in any event, is absurd, and there is not a shred of evidence to support it. Really? Really?
As Justin Baldoni's professional opportunities mysteriously began to dry up, Blake Lively was reportedly orchestrating an even more calculated maneuver, one designed to rewrite her entire public narrative about working with him. The transformation was stunning. One week she was posting glowing Instagram stories celebrating Justin's visionary direction and brilliant creative mind, and the next, every trace of those posts had vanished. According to Piers Morgan's investigation, the turning point came during the filming of a tense scene in October, when Justin stood firm on his artistic vision despite Blake's objections. Within 24 hours, her tone shifted dramatically. The warm praise she had been giving in interviews turned into cautious, PR-crafted comments about navigating creative challenges and balancing different artistic perspectives. Former co-star Daniela Rodriguez described it best. "It gave me whiplash. One minute she's calling him inspiring, and the next, she's quietly implying he's difficult. Nothing catastrophic even happened. It just flipped overnight." Morgan's findings reportedly include text exchanges between Blake and Ryan Reynolds that expose how deliberate this transformation was. In one alleged message dated November 9th, Blake wrote, "We need to distance me from him before publicity starts. I'm thinking we float the creative differences angle, but keep it vague. Nothing that makes me look difficult." Ryan's supposed reply read, "Smart. I'll have Jen talk to Vanity Fair about adjusting the cover story. We can frame it as you protecting the film's vision, makes you look strong and dedicated." PR analyst Thomas Warner reviewed the sequence of posts and interviews and called it textbook reputation management by subtraction. The couple systematically erased every positive reference to Justin while inserting subtle comments that recast Blake as the film's heroic savior without ever naming names. Morgan's timeline showed how each of these narrative shifts neatly aligned with moments of strategic benefit. When Blake was positioning herself as a serious producer, the press leaned heavily on her creative leadership. When Ryan had competing projects to promote, whispers emerged that Blake had stepped in to save Justin's troubled direction. Co-star Alexandra Chen told Morgan, "At the start, she praised Justin's vision nonstop. By the end, she acted like she'd carried the entire movie. It was the most calculated image reversal I've ever seen." Now, Morgan's revelations are threatening to shatter the pristine image Blake and Ryan have cultivated for years. The fairy tale couple that once embodied Hollywood charm is being recast as master strategists operating behind a curtain of manipulation, intimidation, and quiet influence. This isn't merely about a creative disagreement. It's about the machinery of celebrity power and how reputations are weaponized. Industry insiders are now whispering that this could mark the beginning of the end for Hollywood's golden couple. Their empire, built on relatability, wit, and perfect marriage PR, is showing cracks beneath the gloss. As one insider put it, they've controlled every narrative for years, but this time, too many people saw behind the curtain. The illusion may finally be fading, and in its place, Hollywood is getting a raw look at just how far image management can go when fame and fear intertwine.